Hi everyone, my name is Dan, and today I'll be taking a look at the game Port Royale 3 for the PC. Port Royale was released by Kalypso Games, who you might know from the Tropico series amongst other titles. Now, this game came out in May of 2012 for PC and has since been ported over to console. Also, the successor to this game, Rise of Venice, was recently released, so if you're looking for the newest coolest game, you should watch some reviews for that. Now, if you're looking to save even more money, you can also check out Patrician 4 instead, which is exactly like Port Royale 3, but came out a few years earlier and is often now on sale for just a couple bucks online. Alright, so we're going to start off here the usual way just by checking out some game options. Now, as you can see, almost immediately the game options are rather slim. You do get various sliders for each of the sound options, which is good. Especially, I recommend turning down the voice slider, because late in the game, a lot of the notifications you get through that voice sound are very frustratingly annoying and happen all the time. Now, in terms of graphical options, you do get to choose your resolution. You can change your details. They are pretty limited to just low, medium, and high. You can toggle full screen. You can turn on AA and AF. I strongly recommend using vertical sync. There is a fair amount of tearing that takes place if you don't. And as you can see, the English language is locked in there. There are also some options for multiplayer. However, anytime I have tried to join a multiplayer game in this title, I have been shown an empty list for servers. The game lets you choose between several gameplay options, including 2 story-based campaigns and a customizable free play. Once you've played through the 2 story campaigns, you continue playing on basically in a free play mode, so you can basically choose which option you'd like based on whether you want to have the goals and story the campaign offers, or if you just prefer to muck about at your own pace. Now, with the base game purchase, you do get the Trader and the Adventurer campaigns. There is also available DLC for the Pilot's Life campaign, which is very different from the other two. So I strongly recommend waiting to pick up that DLC until you know you like the base game and the general mechanics, especially the combat mechanics, because the pirate version takes on a lot of those in a new way. So let's start off by making a new free play game. The game does offer fairly decent customization options. You can choose which nation you want to ally with right from the start. England, France, Holland, and Spain. You can choose your hometown, your starting year, and as you can see, as you change the starting year, the cities that are toggled or owned by each of the different nations changes quite a bit. These nations do like to fight each other a lot, so it's not uncommon at all to see England declare war on Holland for whatever reason. They really just randomly attack each other all the time. For difficulty options, there are quite a few. Now, I'm going to start off with everything here just set to normal, so you can really see the base game essentially the way it was set up and originally balanced. But you can turn on, like a higher maintenance for your vessels if you want to make trading a bit harder. You can change your reputation gains, pirate activity, consumption. You can even tell it, I want to remove the discovery element and just have all towns available right off the bat. Now, the starting capital setting here is a very big deal. As you can see, you can choose from the lowest option, which is just a single ship and 30,000 gold, and that can be toggled all the way up to 10 ships and 500,000 gold. Now, that will allow you to jump right into the mid-game. You can basically start off with a couple convoys, get them trading in pretty big quantities right off the bat. That's a lot of income that you can use to buy a lot of resources and just start trading massive amounts right from the start of the game. Personally, I really enjoy the early game struggle that this game offers. I find its trading is very fun, and also it feels very important because of your limited money and your low reputation at that point. So I'm going to start off on just the normal 1 ship and 30,000 starting capital settings here. All right. So welcome to the Caribbean. This is taking place in the 16th and 17th centuries. The game couldn't quite make up its mind. What you're going to see now is the default world mode setting, which is basically a 2D top-down map of the various, the various ships here move about on. As you can see, they are pretty and they just kind of move about. They're disappearing here because they're outside of my line of sight. Now, you can see there's only a few cities on my map here. Like I mentioned, that is toggleable. you can have this entire map all shown right from the start. However, that really does remove the discovery mechanic, which especially in your first couple playthroughs is really a good fun part of the adventure that the game offers. So I strongly recommend at least leaving the discovery in until you've played through a couple times and you know where everything is and you just really want to kind of get down into it. Now, Port Royale 3 tries to balance three basic gameplay styles: trade, business development, and combat or piracy. Now, let's start off by taking a look at trading. Now, trading in the game is very simple. You buy resources when they're cheap and well stocked, and then you sell them when they're needed the most for the biggest profits.
Continued success and prosperity.
Thank you very much. Now, doing this properly will earn you lots of gold and increase your reputation with your trade partners. Likewise, you can also be kind of evil, and you can actually buy resources that are really scarce, and that'll punish your enemy towns, effectively starving them. Now, that's expensive, and in the nature of true capitalism, even your biggest enemy will always sell you their last piece of bread if you have the money to convince them. And it really only works in the late game as a result of that. You have to have a lot of money to burn if you want to essentially punish your enemies by starving them. Right now, let's just take a bunch of resources that we can get here and move them on to a nearby city for a nice profit. So corn is looking pretty cheap. We're going to buy that. Oh, actually, we're not going to buy quite that much. We don't want to be starving Port Royale here. Now, as you can see, if you do over purchase of a supply, and the town's going to essentially be going without, they will get a little upset about that. So you want to move this slider over here until you've got a few of the resources that they can afford to spare, but it'll also at a cheap price that you can turn a nice profit on. This is determined just using this little kind of heat temperature gauge on the side here. The more green bars that are lit up, the more of the resource that are available, and typically the cheaper the price will be. There are some resources, as you can see, that are quite expensive, and others that are very, very cheap, and you can buy quite a few of. Now, the benefit of the cheap resources, obviously, is that you can buy a lot of them, so when you do turn a nice profit, you can turn a very nice one, but it does take up more space on your boat, and at the end of the day, if you can fit, 1,000 of an extremely expensive resource on your boat, or 1,000 of a very cheap resource on your boat, it makes sense to bring the expensive one if you can afford it. Alright, so now we're just going to move our tiny little starter ship here. It's barely capable of even crossing this ocean, but it's going to go from Port Royale over to Port-au-Prince here, and then we'll trade off those resources we just bought. Now, the game in the top left-hand corner there you see does have a speed option. The game is currently just set to normal one-time speed, which is good for just kind of initially playing the game. That can go up to 5 on this menu, but if you hold down your spacebar, you can crank the speed right up to 10 times normal speed, which allows you to zip through quite long periods of slower gameplay into the more fun stuff. Alright, so we're going to trade off those resources and hopefully pick up some more deals. Let's see, you can get some cheap bricks here. Let's buy a bunch of those. Bit of sugar. Sounds great. Some sort of cloth or textiles. Just buy a few of those. They're pretty pricey, but we can hopefully get a nice profit on that. And let's see. That looks pretty good for now. We'll just stick with that. You may notice that I'm skipping a few of the things, especially tools and tobacco. I often skip these because of the fact that they're very common in a lot of cities, and as a result you can end up kind of lugging around a lot of dead weight. When you do find a city that will sell them to you, however, it is always nice because you can turn a very handy profit. Oh, and we're actually going to skip this city here because, as we can see, that town is already being attacked. The Spanish and the Holland nation are already at war just mere minutes into the game for some sort of reason or another. So let's take a look at Isabella here. Yeah, pretty little town. Let's just see what we can sell and trade. So they have some good available wood here. Let's buy a bunch of that. We'll sell them our bricks, sell them our sugar, and I'll pick up some more of these. And as you can see, just as I kind of go through and I buy the resources in the most sensible way, you also gain reputation, which is very useful because you need that reputation later on if you want to actually develop cities and build your own businesses so you can produce goods rather than just simply trade the goods that others have made. Now, what you've seen is basically the gist of the trading game. It is very simple. It's very reminiscent of very early PC gaming, if you're thinking of titles such as Dope Wars, for instance, where you just trade one resource for money and you try and buy things as cheap as possible and sell them for as much as possible. That is really the whole experience there. So the next part of the game that we'll be taking a look at is business development. Now, all those resources that you've seen me trading here, they did have to start out somewhere, right? So let's just go ahead and we're going to load a different game here where we can experience the business development side of things. Now, I'm loading another game here that I've spent maybe 30 minutes on. It was a free roam game that I made, but I just cranked up the options like I mentioned there at the start and also turned off discovery. So right away here, you can see the map is very busy and I have quite a bit of money despite the fact I've actually played very little. So let's move into Port Royale 3 here, or Port Royale.
The city's administrator will offer you contracts. These contracts usually have something to do with supplying the city. They are not only financially rewarding, but also increase your reputation in the city and the nation.
So that's the captain advisor that you just saw there. He does provide some useful information at times, but more often than not will simply be notifying you of minor distractions, and they really do feel like distractions a lot of the time. But let's move on and let's take a look at business development. Now, in the city, I've already purchased the first license and built a couple homes and a warehouse, which is a requirement in order to get the next level of license, which is now available. That's going to cost me 50,000 gold. No problem. Let's just go ahead and buy that. And now we are free to build proper businesses in this town. So we have a couple options. We can build a cotton farm, corn farm. We can build a foundry. As you can see, the foundry actually converts wood units over into metal units. Metal sells for a lot more money. Wood is very cheap, but Port Royale doesn't actually produce its own wood despite the massive forest that you can see in the background here. As a result, you'll have to bring in wood from another nearby city if you want to take advantage of that business. If you don't, you can be sure that you're going to get a lot of notifications telling you that your business is not operating properly. Now, also, there is options for a distillery. We can convert wood and sugar into rum. We can build a tobacco plantation. And later on, once your reputation in a city is better, it'll let you build far more advanced units. Now, some of these buildings that I'm showing you here are only available because I have the Pirate DLC. So keep in mind that until you pick that up, you may have a few less options. Now I'm going to go ahead and just start out with a simple cotton farm, and we have a bit more money available, so why not? Let's also put in a corn farm.
Nice to see you putting up new buildings here.
Now these are just going to slowly build away on their own as the game progresses here. We can click on them and can see that in 8 days this cotton farm will be built, and in 4 days this corn farm will be built and ready to go. Now thankfully 4 days and 8 days in game isn't terribly long, but at one speed it may feel that way until we have more to do. In the meantime, I'm going to hire a shop steward for the city here because I'll need him to properly manage my businesses once the time comes. So let's click on hire steward. Now we're going to tell him initially that I want him to sell goods to the city when he can make at least 120% profit from what the cost was. You can toggle this as high or as low as you want, and the effective thing about that is that if you end up with a massive surplus of commodities, you can sell them off at a bit of a loss, but it'll save you in the long run on warehousing space. It also has options here for keeping resources and blocking goods. These are used if you want to supply resources for another city. Like I mentioned before, if you wanted to produce rum, you would need sugar and wood. These will allow you to save those resources here in the city rather than selling them off with just the blanket 100% or 120% toggle here. All right. So last but not least, we're going to be taking a look at combat and piracy. Now I'm going to load another save game here that I've optimized for that, and this is actually from the Pirate DLC. Now, don't be concerned if you're not planning on picking up the Pirate DLC. I'm only actually loading this one because of the fact it'll let me just quickly jump into combat. Combat is something the Pirate DLC does much better, although also kind of the same, as confusing as that sounds. So let's go ahead and grab our ship here, the Lightning Eel. As you can see, it's actually a convoy of 4 boats. It's pretty healthy right now, pretty strong. It has quite a number of guys. But, you know, let's just make sure that we're maxing that out. So we can have 540 guys here. Let's bring them all on board. Let's give them all swords, guns, and, you know, some cannon shots so they can really properly tear up the enemies as they should. So they've been just kind of hanging out at our hideout here. But let's just bring them out at sea and start a patrol. Now, as you can see, the ships that are coming by me here, they have, you know, pretty decent defenses, 80s and such. I have 98 power myself. So, of course, being a true pirate, it's best to be advantageous of a weak enemy. This guy's only 53, so let's go crush him. Excellent. Now, we're not currently at war with him, obviously, because we're a pirate, but also Holland is not at war with anyone. And let's just go ahead and automate this combat. Before we do that, you can see there's a nice breakdown here. You can see how many combat vessels each of us have. So it's 3 versus 3. And on top of that, there's also just an advantage unit size. We have about twice as many cannons, a little over twice as many guys. This should be a pretty straightforward domination for my guys. So let's hit automated there, and we'll just give it a few seconds for the combat to play out. Now, the manual combat in this game really isn't the best. There's one typical strategy that tends to work all of the time, and once you've got it down, it does become very repetitive. As a result, I'm not even going to bother to show it to you today. It can be fun. Once you've mastered it, especially, you'll probably have, you know, a good hour or so where you just go around destroying all your enemies just with absolutely no chance at all for them by just exploiting a simple weakness they have. I'm not going to spoil that weakness for you. There are other YouTube videos available with those strategies in them if you want to learn how to essentially cheap shot all of the combat in the game. Using the automated option is also fairly simple and easy because of the fact that if you just simply show up with a stronger fleet, with more guys and more cannons and more guns, you're going to always win. So our opponent in this case, our Holland enemy here, has surrendered, and as a result, he has left 3 of his vessels behind, which we can actually plunder. We did lose a couple guys, we took a bit of a beating, nothing severe at all. It'll take just a little bit of maintenance and repair to get that back. And that was actually a pretty nice one. We're going to jack a bunch of wood. We got some bricks, we got some canoes, and a bunch of meat. So now that we have all of these bonuses, we could take them back to town and just immediately sell them, or we could look for additional combat. Now, you'll notice I'm using the patrol option here. That's just to expose ships from a little further away, but there's nothing saying you have to. Technically, you could just move about as you like to by right-clicking anywhere in the ocean, or even going over to a town. You even have the option to attack towns if you'd like to. Towns can be very heavily defended, so of course you'll want to make sure that you have a massive fleet and a lot of strong military ships before you try anything like that. So as you can see, the resources that we plundered can now just be dropped off at the town. If you're not playing the Pirate DLC, you can just unload them into a warehouse in exactly the same way I'm doing now by just dragging them over, and then your steward can sell them off for you at a nice profit as that works out. So this video has basically summed up what you can expect from Port Royale 3. By now, you should have a pretty solid impression whether this is something that you're going to want to try out, or if you would maybe prefer to avoid it. Now, personally, I enjoyed the game quite a bit, and I found it a really great casual play when I'm looking for something relaxing and easy. It's really great after a stressful day at work. Just throw on a little Port Royale 3, chill out, and, you know, just trade some resources, develop some businesses, and fight a few pirates along the way. Now, I really wish that the notifications the game hands out were less common, especially in late game. It is very common to get bombarded with messages implying that your developed towns are in trouble, when really they might just need a handful of additional workers, and, you know, it's even a lot of times stuff that figures itself out a minute or two later. If you let pirates get out of control, the cannon sound that plays each time you're attacked gets really frustrating. I'd highly recommend picking up this title if you can score it on sale. Especially now that Rise of Venice is out, I've seen some great deals on Steam for this. Just a couple bucks. It's really not going to hurt your pocket at all. I'm hoping to score a copy of Rise of Venice myself soon, and of course, once I do that, I'll be happy to do a comparison review for you guys. Anyways, until next time, I've been Dan. Thanks for watching my video, and see you next time.